My name is Sharmeen Abdullah, and I'm a member of the Business Services team for the Aga Khan Economic Planning Board for Southwest. I would like to welcome you all today to the webinar on online used, rental, and resale of clothing. Today's event has been organized by the American Ismaili Chamber of Commerce in partnership with the Southwest EPB. Today's session will run about 40 minutes and we'll give about 15 minutes for Q&A. If you have any additional questions, feel free to email us at support@ismailichamber.org. Please note that a recording of today's webinar will be available on the AICC's website, ismailichamber.org, within the next 24 to 48 hours. I know that this is a very hot topic and we're all eager to learn more about it. We're going to have a lot of questions, so I just want to remind you all to please submit any questions that you have in the Q&A chat box at the bottom of the screen. Before we get started, I'd like to go over some housekeeping items. I would like to inform the audience that the views and opinions presented in this program are those of the presenters and have been prepared in his, her, their personal capacities. The views and opinions do not necessarily reflect the official policy, position, views, or opinions of His Highness Prince Aga Khan Shia Imami Ismaili Council for the United States of America, the Aga Khan Economic Planning Board, or any other Jamaati institutions. There are no guarantees. The information provided in this presentation is without any guarantee of completeness, accuracy, or timeliness. No Jamaati institution is responsible for any errors or omissions in the presentation information, nor for the results obtained from the use of any presentation information. Please consult your professional advisors. None of the presentation information should be considered to be legal, tax, accounting, consulting, or any other professional advice. You should consult with your own professional advisors about your particular factual situation and specific matters before making any decisions. To lead us in discussion today, I could not be more excited to introduce to you our two panelists, Afroz Ali and Jalal Rassiani. Afroz Ali is the founder and chief Memsab of the South Asian women's empowerment brand Memsab, and also a leadership coach. Prior to starting Memsab, Afroz was a strategy and innovation consultant for 13 years across several industries. Her website is www.memsabs.shop, and her Instagram handle is @mem.sab. Afroz is also the author of Empower to Empower, 6 entrepreneurial leadership principles. Afroz hopes to empower and inspire change in those around her so they can find their inner leader. Her book will be published in the next coming weeks. Please follow her on social media to get updates on publication dates and related events. Next, I would like to introduce Jalal Rassiani. He is an e-commerce trainer and a small business coach, and is also an associate director of the American Ismaili Chamber of Commerce. Jalal Bhai has a wealth of knowledge, and I'm so excited to learn from him today. Jalal Bhai, I'm handing it over to you.
Thank you, Sharmeen. Yalimadat, everybody. Very excited on this topic. So Afroz, let's make this interesting.
Sure.
What can people expect from this webinar?
Yeah, well, you know, I think one of the things that a lot of people have been doing nowadays, especially since COVID first started, is they're cleaning out their closets. And so I think today, you know, we wanted to really talk about, wanted to educate the members on how to get into the business of renting and reselling gently used clothing and leveraging the secondhand and online consignment market to create an online small business. And there are a lot of different ways to approach this industry. We're going to specifically focus on 2 parts of it, renting and reselling. You know, we've selected some platforms and some sites that we're going to talk about. But there are definitely a lot of other options out there that we probably won't be able to address in the short time that we have in this presentation. But the ones we've selected are actually, you know, the ones that we think could really answer a lot of great questions and inspire a lot of ideas for people in the room. And then it's pretty obvious that there will be a lot of benefits to going into any type of very popular industry. But, you know, some of the benefits of doing that are, you know, making some money, cleaning out your closets and getting rid of some of that clutter, and donating to a good cause. So that's what we can hope to expect today. And I'll quickly go over the agenda and then tell you a little bit about what I did today in honor of this webinar. So today, what we're going to cover are some very critical stats on why anyone should even consider entering this industry. Then we're going to talk about what's important to consider about renting and reselling. So we're going to talk about some of the platforms that exist out there and some of the things to keep in mind. And then we'll talk about how someone can get started. You know, if they're thinking about getting in this industry, what are some ways to, you know, in addition to cleaning out their closets, what other places can they get inventory and things like that. And then lastly, we're going to go over a checklist of tips, both operational as well as those related to customer experience. And hopefully that should give everyone a lot to chew on and go and spend the rest of their weekend figuring out what their used clothing business is going to look like. And in honor of this webinar, I decided to wear an outfit that I got from an e-commerce subscription service. And we're not going to talk about that one in particular, but if anyone's interested in looking it up on their own, it's called Stitch Fix. You know, I'm very excited about this industry. I know that it's changed faces many times over the years, but I think right now is a really great opportunity to get involved. But I think, you know, Jalal, I think it will be very interesting for our audience here to learn a little bit more about why someone should even enter this industry. What's going on? What are some of the stats around it right now?
No, I'm glad. And I'm glad you're explaining it this way. So it's going to make a lot of value. So we know what this is. So we know people who use it also, right? So that's good. So when I was doing a research on e-commerce in different platforms, when I work with people, I found out a lot of people were selling used clothes. And this is 6 to 8 months ago, I started kind of researching and I saw some numbers in the industry, some stuff. I was reading an article from Penn today, by a professor at Wharton School. He spoke about what's the future of rental clothing. When I looked at that article and that numbers in there, it was like, wow, are people missing out the boat, or people don't know, or is it like a hidden gem? And there was another article from Bloomberg that spoke about the future of fashion is rented dresses. And I was always imagining how people would be spending so much money for clothes. And now I kind of feel the secret is coming out that people not always buy everything at a ticketed price. They must be doing a lot of rental, and so I figured this would be a good way to start. Another article I was looking up, and I saw what was the future of this, right? So when we look at something, we always want to see what is the future for this industry. So there is a company called ThreadUp. They are one of the topmost companies. I'm going to talk about them also. In their reporting, they said that you know, for the COVID, in the COVID times, how is this market going to trend? And they're projecting it to grow about 69%. And I was trying to compare it with the retail that is there, and they're projecting that the real retail is going to go down, because it makes sense, right? You're not going out anymore. You're not going for events and stuff. So everything is happening virtually through Zoom. So now people are at home. So after work is done, what do? They look in the closet, think about how they were using the clothes, but now they don't want to use it. So now they're like, what can we do with extra clothes, right? So the future is good from where the projections are coming out. So this is a growth index for 2019 market size they had done. So I thought this is very interesting to know what is the strength of the market, right? Anytime you want to get into any industry, you want to first think about what is the option. And then I was looking at what are they thinking, how was it for pre-COVID and post-COVID, right? So pre-COVID, the resale market was 43%, and then the retail was 11%. And so there was a gap of 32% in there. Now, if you think about it, right, the resale items are about 20% higher, and the retail is minus 24%. That means people are not going to buy any clothes and accessories, so they're not out in the market, right? So what are they doing now? So if you think of the gap, so there's a 44% growth in this. This kind of caught my eye, and I said, so that means there must be a lot of companies doing this, a lot of places they're doing. And then I looked up what is the projected growth for this. Right now we looked at what is happening, and I was looking at if there was any projection, and then I found out that if you can go to the next slide, let me just pull that one up. So there is a compounded annual growth of 64 billion, 39% growth for resale. And I was like, resale is really the way. If you think about it, we have so many things. We go to Goodwill, just drop the clothes off and come back, and they do whatever. And I'm going to share some secrets on what they do, how they do, how does this industry work a little bit. This way we'll start thinking of how we can create an avenue for ourselves to make money. There was one more growth stats that I had seen, and it is, how is it going to accelerate post COVID? And there is a projection of from 2019 to 2024, the projected market growth is expected to go by 414%. That means people are going to look for items that are resale for whatever reason, economic, social, extra things. People may have put on some few extra pounds. We don't know, right? So there could be many reasons for this. So putting all these numbers together, I think this is, I mean, this really excites me. So Afroz, as we go along, can you educate our members on what do consumers look for, or how do they categorize, and throw some light on this so people get educated on this factor?
Sure, yeah. So I think one of the things to consider, right, is that when we go into the online space, we're not necessarily just targeting people that are like us. We're targeting people all over the place. So once you get yourself out there online, or whether you're starting your own site or you're working with a partner site, there's some things to consider. So consumers are looking at used clothing, a slightly different way. So they're probably going to look for terms like repurposed, recycled, upcycled, vintage clothing. So it's all about the types of terminology you use to describe your clothing. Vintage clothing, it would have to be a couple of decades old to be considered vintage, but it's definitely something worth considering if you're really doing a deep clean of your closet and you find some good stuff there. Right. And then some of the other trends out there is that customers want to update their fashion, but they also want to do good for the environment. And I added a little stat down at the bottom. Again, it's from the report that ThredUp sent out. And 4 million fast fashion items have been recirculated by ThredUp, saving 5.5 million pounds of waste. So this is just an example of ThredUp that repurposes clothing, and it saves that much waste. So fast fashion is any company that is able to take something from the fashion show runways straight to the stores. They're the ones that's why they call it fast fashion. That industry actually creates quite a bit of waste, and it's not so great for the environment. So in order to do good for the environment, there are a lot of people that opt for repurposed clothing. So we don't want to buy any more things that harm the environment. And then the other piece to consider are, what is the format that people are purchasing? So people might opt for something that's a curated box, a curation of fashion that gets sent to their house. So that's, picking a shirt, pair of pants, and a jacket and putting it in a box and shipping it to a customer because they want a whole outfit put together for them. Then there's subscription services. There's services out there that just, a new sock that has a new design, one pair of socks per month or something like that. There's services like that as well. You can do it for gloves, you can do it for hats, you can do it for all kinds of things. Those types of services exist right now. And then there's the one-time purchase. So that's when you have a special event to go to, and you don't really, you're not going to keep buying something, but you do want to find something nice. You're going to do a little bit of research to find that perfect item. That's an opportunity also for a rental. So these are just some things to think about. And then, some of the other things to really think about as you're cleaning out your closets, as you're finding these clothes, is how to sort them out a little bit. Start putting them into certain categories, because that's how the market looks at it too. So you can think of it as ethnic versus mainstream fashion. You can think of it as formal wear versus casual wear. What would somebody wear to work versus what would somebody wear if they're going on a nice walk in their neighborhood. Adult wear versus children's clothing. Seasonal stuff, so winter stuff versus summer stuff. I'm in Chicago, so there's definitely a big search for winter clothing. As soon as like October rolls around, people are starting to look for winter clothes because it starts to get cold here. So these are just some categories to think about. Of course, the list of categories is very vast, so it's all about the type of category you want your stuff really fits into, and where you can find the most opportunity. So that's a little bit about that, and I think it would be pretty interesting, I think, Jalal, to talk a little bit about what people would need to learn a little bit about. What are the platforms out there? What can you tell us about?
Sure. No, no, I'm so excited that, I'm going to share some good information. So I hope everybody's ready. The secrets are coming out. So let me talk about the first component of this that we have decided to speak. I'm going to focus more on the resale side of it, and I'm going to let Afroz talk to us about the rental side because she's a end user of the product. So I think she'll be the right person for this. So, in the resale market, there are some good players. I mean, there are many players, but I picked the ones that I knew, a Jamati member or a friend or some small business owner that's working. So there are about 6 that I think I'm going to talk about. So there is one called ThreadUp. There's one called Poshmark. One is called Tradesy. One is called Grailed. One is called Kidizen. And eBay, everybody knows. If you don't, you better should know. And Etsy. I'm just going to read a little bit about here to give you a differentiating factors about these factors, but I want to break this down a little more as we go along the slides, right? So basically, ThreadUp is one of the biggest resale company that you put your stuff in and ship it to them. So instead of you going to Goodwill and dropping your clothes and getting nothing out of it, they send you a free bag like this, like you see on your screen, and you ship it to them. They will identify what they can sell, and whatever they can sell, they will sell it for you and they'll give you money on it. So think about it. You're not doing anything. You cleaned up the closet, you put it in the bag, you send it to them, you get some money for doing nothing, not even the shipping, right? So I like it. And let me talk a little bit about Poshmark. You set the item, so that's your closet. That's what you have with you that you list. We will go into the screens, but let me just say about Tradesy. Tradesy is another nice one that is very good for name brand products. There is one called Grailed, and I want to break this down. So Afroz, if you can go back to the first slide and let me start from breaking it down. There you go. If you can go to the next one, please. Thank you. So let's talk about Poshmark. So what is Poshmark? And I want to explain this very well. If you understand Facebook, you like to like other people's items, which we do, right? And you like to share other people's content. So think of this as Facebook. You find a dress or a product that you go and like the follower of whoever has listed the item. You take that person's item that is for sale and you list it on your thing so people can see. The way it works is every person that is selling a product has a lot of followers. So for example, if Afroz and Jalal had 10,000 followers each, and Jalal went and found a shirt that Afroz had posted and said, you know what, I want to get rid of 4 of these shirts because I don't need it. My husband doesn't want it. So then what I would do is I would take those 4 shirts and post it on my timeline and say, hey, look, there are 4 shirts. So basically in 1 minute, 20,000 people will find out how this product comes in. So it's a very, very interesting. So in Urdu में बोलने का कि अगर आपको Facebook समझ में आता है तो Poshmark एक बहुत अच्छी जगह है जो आप बेच सकते हो. और यहाँ पे अगर आप सोचो तो क्या बिकता है, यहाँ पे नेम ब्रांड चीजें बिकती हैं और सस्ती चीजें बिकती हैं. लोगों को डील चाहिए, $4, $5, $8 की चीजें. नाउ व्हेन आई से दैट कि आपको सस्ती चीजें बेचनी है, मैं आपको बताऊंगा कि लोग किस तरह कपड़े खरीदते हैं. हम लोग ने थोड़े सोर्सेज आइडेंटिफाई भी किए हुए हैं, आप कहां से खरीद सकते हो. अगर आप यहाँ पे जाना चाहते हो तो दे आर वेरी इजी टू स्टार्ट. और इन लोगों की पॉलिसी ये है कि आप कोई भी चीज बेचते हो अंडर $15, दे विल चार्ज यू $2.95. अगर आप $15 के ऊपर कोई भी चीज बेचते हो तो ये लोग आपको 20% कमीशन रख के यू गेट टू कीप 80%. द मिनट यू मेक द सेल, वो लोग आपको एक लेबल भेजते हैं ईमेल में. आपको कोई क्रेडिट कार्ड प्रोसेसिंग का पैसा नहीं देना है. आप कुछ भी प्रॉब्लम होते हैं, उनका सपोर्ट बहुत अच्छा होता है. वो लोग रिटर्न्स में बहुत मिनिमम होता है, वो पहले ही बता देते हैं कि हम रिटर्न नहीं करेंगे, पता क्योंकि लोगों को पता होता है कि these are used clothes. सेल टैक्स ऑटोमेटिक कैलकुलेट करते हैं. सो इफ यू लुक एट इट एंड से कि जलाल मुझे अगर पुराने कपड़े बेचने हैं या अच्छे कपड़े जो नेम टैग अच्छी कंडीशन में है, मैं कहां जा सकती हूँ. सो दिस इज वन. Let's talk about the next one quickly so we can go over these sites. Tradesy is another good one where keep in mind that this is something that you sell at a price where they keep 19.8% commission over $50. So it costs you $20. So if it's a $10 item, they'll keep $2. You prepaid postage labels, you mail it, returns are directly to Tradesy. So if you sold something, if the customer returns, it goes back to Tradesy. Let's talk about the next one. the grail. So you know what happened in this industry, everybody was selling stuff and the men's products were getting lost. So that they don't leave the men out, this company came out and said, you know what, we're going to do exclusively men items. So on the grail marketplace, you can find shirts for $4 all the way to $400. I mean, this is a market for exclusively for men, and the range is amazing. You will be surprised what you can do on this side. They only focus on men's. The way they charge is 6% commission plus PayPal fees, which is about 2.9% and 30 cents. So if you ask me, Jalalbhai, I don't know all these numbers. What does it cost me? 11% to make a sale. Put that in your mind. Anything you're selling, 11% you will be losing, but other than that, it's all your money. Think about it. You went to Goodwill, just dropped it off. You had nothing. Here I'm showing you ideas how you can cash for your stuff. Let's go to the next one. And then, you know, we cannot leave the kids alone because kids grow very fast. So there is another website called the Kiddizen, and I'm sure there are many more. We did not want to go into all the thousands of websites. We wanted to give the Jamaat the idea, the members, the idea of what are the platforms, how do people do, how are the commissions, how do people list, what is important, right? So the seller fee policies, they deduct 12% plus 50 cents of per transaction. Now you got to keep in mind, in this site, you are responsible for paying for the shipping. So you be careful how you list it. Again, these are some tips that you want to do it. It's very easy. Here it is basically, they say, okay, here is a little website. You put all your products, because they know when kids' clothes are being sold, it's not going to be one shirt or pant. It's going to be 5 shirts. My child over, you know, he grew up and he doesn't know what to do with it. So again, so this is something that I would want people to look at it from different perspective. And as we go along, we will talk a little bit now, right? So now I want to give it to you again. And Afroz, I think you should talk about the rental side. Now I excited everybody, right? So let's talk about the other side of it.
Yeah, for sure. But, you know, before we jump into any more topics around rental, I know that the American Ismaili Chamber of Commerce is doing a lot of stuff around this topic. Would you like to talk a little bit about what some of the upcoming events are, Jalal?
Sure. So thank you so much. And I think that's so important. So what we are doing is we are designed a series of webinars, and we identified 3 amazing speakers from India. They manage a lot of websites and social media for a lot of companies in the Western side of the world, because, you know, that is the tech hub. And it was so, I was so fortunate to find these 3 Smileys who have agreed to come and help us. So the first one we're going to do is, starting from next Saturday, we're doing a 6 webinar series. The first one is free for everybody, and it's free for all the AICC members. So if you're not an AICC member, we would love to have you as our member. The first one we're going to talk about is introduction to the speakers and what they're going to talk in the series. The second one, we're going to teach people what and WhatsApp business is. I didn't know that WhatsApp had a business app where you can have it, your store timings, you can have a catalog, you can have an auto answering thing that people get an answer that is not available today. The business is stopped. I was really amazed. The third one is how every small business must have Google My Business, because that's how your business is found on the internet. We're going to take this step by step to educate members, people who really want to understand, by having a good website, having good products. If you don't understand social media, it's like you have a store, but you don't have customers. You don't have a location that people come to. So you have to target customers. So these are some channels we found. Then we are going to have another gentleman from India talk about Instagram and Facebook. Then I'm going to have one person especially just talk about what is the brand image for your product, what do you need to do. And then the 6th one, which is going to end on the 6th one, which is going to end on the 10th of October. So think of it from next Saturday, next 6 Saturdays, we're going to keep everybody busy. 10 o'clock in the morning, which is an 8:30 in the India evening time. They have agreed to come on and take us to the next level of the e-commerce journey. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of excitement. So
that's amazing. All of these sessions sound so interesting to me, at least. I'm all about digital marketing, so this sounds really exciting, and I hope everybody takes advantage of it. And I think this might be a good segue into going into the rental side of things, because the rental side of things is really, it's similar to the resale side. I think there's a lot of similar things, but I think there's the one thing to keep in mind is, you know, each of the companies that we've talked about today, they're trying to solve for a very specific problem, right? So I know sometimes it feels overwhelming, like, oh my gosh, look at all these platforms. They're all solving for something very specific. So as we talk about some of these rental platforms, you can think about it as a way for you to shop, a place for you to shop or rent clothes, but you can also think about it as inspiration for what you might want to do with your e-commerce used clothes business. So we selected about 5 online platforms that rents used clothing or repurposes clothing. Rent the Runway is one of them, Glamour Rental, Winnie B Rental, Toolery, and Circos. And we'll go ahead and talk about each one as we go through. Rent the Runway was actually one of the pioneers in this in the clothes rental space, especially when it came to formal wear. So Rent the Runway started with a couple of women who they were executives. They were going to all these parties, and they needed to find fancy clothes, but they couldn't repeat their outfits. So what they really did was they're like, hey, there's a gap in the marketplace to be able to rent fancy dresses, similar to how people can rent tuxedos. So they started this business a while back. And so for $159 a month, you can rent 4 pieces at a time from top designers, and you can have them delivered to you within 2 days. And they cover everything like rental insurance, dry cleaning, and they even have maternity styles available. So as they first started off with just having formal wear. Now they've expanded into maternity styles, and now they're also offering formal wear for children. So it really just, they just started off with something to solve a very specific problem in the marketplace. And now it's one of the more popular clothes rental companies, and even a company that other brands are mimicking.
Wow.
And then there's Glamour Rental. I wanted to make sure I mentioned, where can you rent Indian clothing? I think that's Indian and Pakistani clothing or South Asian clothing. They can, the price can really add up for these types of outfits. And with all the weddings and birthday parties and all the special events that we especially have to go through it during the summertime, this is a great option for renting clothing without breaking the bank, and also looking extremely fashionable at every event you go to.
Right.
And then we have Gwynnie B clothing rental subscription. So this service is really interesting because you can sign up for a subscription service, and they can send you 1 item at a time. So let's say you want to sign up for a new blouse, one blouse at a time. It's $49. You can get 1 blouse at a time, and then you can send it back once you're done. Or for $199, you can access 10 items at a time, and then send them back once you're done using them. There's no commitment. They have plenty of sizes, and they have all kinds of designer brands that you'd want to rent. But then what they also offer up is that if you find an item that you like, you can just keep it, and they'll sell it to you at a discounted price. So there's a lot of great convenience that's involved with this. And I know, at least for somebody like me, when I was traveling for work, it was very hard for me to spend free time shopping for clothes. So I might be the target market in this case, but it was hard for me to, if I only had a weekend with family, I didn't want to spend that time shopping for new clothes or anything like that. So I would use services like this to help me find nice outfits that I could wear, and then kind of, if I didn't like them anymore, I could send them back. So this is available for new and used clothing, but it's definitely a huge convenience factor that's involved with it in how you get it to the customer.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then when it boils down to it, Jalal, traveling is a huge plan. There's a lot of planning involved when you're traveling. You have to figure out your clothes, you have to figure out all kinds of things. And nowadays, if you're driving somewhere, then you have to, you might have more space in your car or whatever you're using to get there, but there are times where sometimes you forget to take something that you need for a special event, or sometimes you just don't want to have to drag it along with you. So Toolery is a great app where you can actually find high fashion in the city that you're in or near the city that you're in. So you can find it in the city you're living in, but if you are traveling or on vacation and you have an impromptu fancy dinner you have to go to, this is a great app that you can use to find fashion like that. So it's a community of women who lend and borrow high-end clothing, shoes, and accessories. There's a $30 rental fee, and then there's also a $10 shipping fee. So there is a little bit of convenience charges there, but this is a great avenue for for renting out some of the items you have in your closets. If you don't want to send it to ThreadUp for cash directly for just for selling your item, you can rent it a few times if it's a high-end item, or if it's something that has been gently used. You can definitely rent it out and make a little bit of extra cash before you decide to sell it. And it's also good for the environment to reuse already made clothing items, as we mentioned earlier. So there's definitely a lot of interest in reusing clothes for that reason.
Sure.
And then the last example that I'm going to share here is it's actually one of my favorites, because this company Circos has really figured out solving a problem that exists for a lot of new mothers and new fathers of a small child. Kids grow really fast, and their clothing you just can't keep up. And so Circos came up with a service where you can pick a bundle or customize a bundle based on your preferences, this color, that color, or, this type of these types of fashion styles for your child. They send you a box of clothes. You can use those clothes, and then you send the clothes back in, and they send you another set of sizes for the next phase of your baby's growth. So it's literally a clothing subscription service that grows with your kid. So I think this is a really cool problem that they solved, and definitely something worth exploring.
Nice. This is very nice. You're kind of opening up so many doors for people now. I'm just worried people start renting stuff now. They won't buy anymore.
I know. But, there's definitely opportunity for both. So I know there's some special things, like if you're going to buy a birthday outfit for your kid, you're definitely going to want to keep that for memories. But for everyday wear, there's definitely a lot of opportunities out there. So Jalal, I'm sure everyone's super excited. They're like, heck yeah, I'm going to go and I'm going to clean out all of the closets and drawers in my house. But what if you run out of clothes? What if you've already exhausted your inventory? What else can people do to find clothing?
Good. So I hope everybody is ready, because I'm going to be giving out secrets now, right? So the secret number one is you need to know where to find the clothes. So let's start. These are the 6 or 7 places that you can find amazing stuff. And I'm going to give you some tips. First one is a garage sale. If you wake up early, if you're a morning person, I would say go drive into your neighborhoods in the summertime when the seasons change, or before winter or before summer, you will find amazing deals. I used to always wonder, how come I see all these expensive cars, traveling around and people buying stuff. So I had a privilege. I asked too many questions. Everybody knows I like to ask questions. So I asked a person, I said, I see you in many garage sales, and I, when I see that car, I'm like, didn't I see this person? And I'm like, what do you do? She said, I go before they start. And I said, and what do you do? He says, so for example, she says, I sell books. I said, how do you buy them? She said, if I'll go there and see if there are 50 or 70 books and each book is 25 cents, she said, I'll just offer him $5 and say, can I clean up the whole shelf? And she'll go buy it. So either she goes early, or she goes when it's 2 o'clock, when anything is remaining, she'll go get it at a discounted price. So again, some tips, people go into garage sales. You will be amazed what you can find in there. I'm sure you read about stories. People have found antiques and made millions. And then the other tip I would like to give people is go into high-end neighborhoods. But think about it. People who spend money have good products with good name brand stuff. So find good neighborhoods, you can find it. Thrift shop, right? Think about the Goodwill shop. The Goodwill shop, they have a Monday, they'll do a green color tag for 30%. Tuesday will be blue will be 30%, yellow 30%, senior 15%. They sell their clothing for $5 and $7, and then they give you 50%. So if you are smart, you can pick up something for $2.50. Another thing is, in Goodwill stores and thrift stores, a lot of people drop products that have tags on it. So real tags. And so it could be something that is never used with a tag. You can go to an auction place. You can go to a police auction. You can go find government auctions. You can go public storage auctions. So people are in Houston. If you go look at the public storage auctions, they have an auction once every month on a third Wednesday or something like that. You can kind of buy the whole room for somebody who could not pay the rent of merchandise. I knew one happened for about 70,000 handbags. They went for like a quarter a piece. Now think about how much you can find. You just need to know how to source these things, right? Then you can go to flea markets. Flea markets is a place where a lot of distributors, a lot of people come, want to get rid of their stuff. Of course, there are other people who are there to make a buck, but there are some genuine people in there who just bring the whole truckload of stuff and they're there. And I've seen people negotiate deals like that. I've seen a deal for socks. I had seen somebody bring 300,000-400,000 pieces of socks, and they picked it up for 5 cents a piece, and they're now selling it for last 2.5 years for $250, which is $9 a pair. So think about how you can find things. There is unlimited things. Then you can go to a pawn shop, right? And you go and ask him, you have any high-end name brand ladies clothing, ladies shoes, men's shoes that you think that nobody has come back to pick, or do you want to get rid of it? Another good place to find product. So these are some things, but one thing I would like to warn everybody: when you work in these kind of places, when you're going, please make sure you follow safe practices. It's very important that you understand. If you don't have safe practices, you can run into trouble. But these are avenues that I know people who make money out of this. And if you do it the correct way, let me also talk about Craigslist, right? I'm sure everybody knows Craigslist, but there is a technique to find stuff. So what I do is I go to Craigslist and I'll go open up Houston and I say, what am I going to find my products? So I kind of go find, I have circled here on the for sale section. You have one section that says free items. There's one that is business, but I forgot to circle the one that says clothing and accessories. So today I went in there to see what can I find in Houston. So there is a lady in Spring. She has 25 ladies tops for like $17. So I'm thinking this is less than $1 a piece, and half of them were name brand. Again, I didn't want to shop because I didn't want my wife to be mad. But again, I just went and found the product. That's the kind of work I do. So one thing I would say is if you are not good in researching, in finding products, then forget about it. This is not something that you look and find. You have to be very innovative. You have to get interested in finding deals, right? So what I do is when I want to find something on Craigslist, I have my magic search words. So I'll go look up all these 3 tabs and I'll put in there liquidation, store closing, must go, taking offers. When I put these kind of key search words, it kind of pulls up everything that I'm looking for. And that's how I find deals, because everybody says, Jalal, how did you find that? And I could not even look up on the same website. So finding deals is one core thing in this, right? And the second one is, I would always want to inform everybody, Craigslist, you have to be very, 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 very safe. Don't share physical addresses. Never meet anybody in your house. Don't invite him to your house to see what you're selling. So try to do it in a way where you do things in a neutral place. It could be a coffee shop, or I had a guy, I was selling a laptop. He says, can I come to your house? I said, no, let's meet behind the police station. So I kind of made it fun for him, and he never showed up. So, and then there are some websites that you can go and check. So think about it. If somebody's trying to take advantage, if you put his name in Google and say email address, he'll tell you if he's a guy who's trying to cheat you. And there are some websites called consumercomplaints.com, ripoffreports.com. I would say get so savvy in finding these kind of things that can help you to the process of being safe, right? So this is another one. Let's talk about eBay a little bit on the next slide. You know, eBay is a good place. eBay also has one section called wholesale lots. And if you have an active account, I would say log in and go look up wholesale lots in completed listings. When you go and check that, you will be able to see what people are selling for. You could have thousands of listings, but you don't know who has sold it for what price. This will give you an idea. So giving an example, I found girls 24-month-old lot of 25 clothes. She's asking for 25 bucks. Fine. If they charge you $8 for shipping, $2, you have $10 extra that you never had. And there is a person here. Now, again, there are some tips we'll talk about. There's another guy here selling, he's selling 17 shirts for $135. Think about it, right? Even if you give them 15% fee, you're walking out with extra $100 you never had. Right? So think about it. So when you go drop these clothes, I don't need it. Abhi ye bahut chote ho gaye, lambe ho gaye. Here you go. This is an opportunity. And let me talk about another one. You can find it on some sites like Wholesale Central, Closeout Central. I'm telling you, we are in the information age. You can find things. Just use Google. I'm saying, if you have heard of Google, it's Google, and go look it up. It's a place to find things. You'll be amazed. This kind of excites me every morning, 15 minutes to see what is going on in the world. Let me talk about another thing that happens. So if we can go to the next slide. So what happens when people have clothing at the Goodwill shop, right? So So you know what Goodwill store does is, right? You go drop the clothes. Then what? They clean it up, they put it on the shelf. Do you think they sell the same clothes all the time? No, they don't. Every week, every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, they will pack whatever is not sold because they continuously have a flow of clothing coming on. So they have contracts with thrift shops, they have contracts with so many companies. They do either cross exchange, or there is another a channel that's called the exporters, who go and buy the clothes from Goodwill at maybe 2 cents or 3 cents a pound. Yes, they bring the clothes in their centers, they sort them. So the sorting is done. It could be summer clothes, it could be winter clothes, it could be men's clothing, it could be ties. I have seen somebody buy men's ties, and I was told that is the item that they give away for free, because ties is not something. So this gentleman will buy 200, 300 ties for like $30, the whole thing, like a 100-pound bale. He'll sort them out and he'll find 20 or 30 good ties that give him $20 and $30. And these are expensive ties that people have donated, right? So giving you an example. And then what they do is whatever they cannot sell, they will pack this. And this is all going to Pakistan, India, China, Kenya. There is a big market in the other side of the world. Slowly, America is realizing it. Slowly, people are figuring out that, wow, this is something that is available. We never knew, and this is where to find it. So I've helped a couple of Jamaati members work on this, and I've had a good experience. We bought a 100-pound bale. We paid $130. We had 120 pieces of clothing in there. We threw out 40, 50 pieces. He still had 70 pieces and he sold it for $8 to $12. So I'm like, wow, this is, when I talk to people, when I work with these kind of people, I'm like, I never knew that this is a market. So these are some things that I found that I think people can really take it to the level, right? So I think this is all exciting stuff. These are some secrets. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of calls. I see about 19 questions here, but let's see what we can do. Exciting,
Yeah.
right?
So exciting, Jalal. I mean, these are things that I definitely did not know about, the export centers, or buying things and buying used clothing in bulk. Yeah, I think everybody has learned quite a bit today about this. So I think it might be interesting and useful for everyone, Jalal, if we went through a checklist of tips. So there's a couple of things to keep in mind, both operationally as well as from a customer experience side. Did you want to walk us through the operational quick tips?
Sure. So the first one I would say is, as I said in my speech here, that research. If you don't research, you're not going to find it. This is not something I found a tab, show me a link, I'll buy it. No, it's not going to work. And it's not going to happen in 2 times or 3 times. You're going to go look for it many times and you're going to find it. I promise you that, right? And the other one is be stylish, be very smart. When you go find deals, people will try to cheat you. Somebody will just say, hey, these are good clothes, just take it. And then next thing you find out, these are 30-year-old clothing. It may not be in fashion, or they could be vintage. Then again, there is an opportunity for that. So be very smart in getting the thing, right? And the next one I would talk about is prep the items for sale. When we buy things in bulk, we just kind of get them so scrambled up and they're not clean or they're not washed. If you want somebody to give you $25 for a dress, make sure you spend the $3 to dry clean it first. Or make sure it doesn't smell like curry and chawal. Somebody did tell me that I worry about buying it from there. And that's the comment that she literally got. And after that, she's like, I spent $4 to dry clean and I'm getting $20 to $24 a dress that I sell. She gets high-end dresses and she does amazing. So again, I have learned that prep the item for sale. It's just like anything else, right? And the last one is you learn the etiquette, right? How etiquette, how people do things. There is a way of doing it, right? So it's just like buying a nice chicken for $5 or going to a nice restaurant paying $29, right? So, that's the way you design it. And that's what I would say, some quick operational quick tips. Can you tell us about customer experience so you can give us the best feedback?
Sure, yeah. So I think you covered a lot of great ones, right? And some of the operational ones that you mentioned actually ties in very nicely with the customer experience ones as well, right? One of the first thing to really think about is the photos, like taking really good photos of clothing, and taking some, photography classes. You don't need a fancy camera. You can use your simple iPhone to take some good pictures, but really learning how to use lighting, natural lighting, things like that to take really good pictures of your clothes so that you can get really good feedback on it and eventually get really good customers for it as well. And the other thing that, you know, kind of goes back to something we mentioned earlier, and we do have that session on SEO that's going to happen in the coming weeks. It would be very specific with the listings, right? Be very specific, be as descriptive as possible. Use words that are accurate, but use words that are descriptive. It's very different to say that you're buying a white t-shirt versus you're saying a white short sleeve t-shirt for the summer made of 100% cotton. Very different things. So when people are searching for clothing, they're going to want to see some of those details, because clothing is a very personal experience when people are buying things, and they want to make sure that they're buying the right thing for their bodies, because they're going to wear it on their bodies.
Correct.
And be active to build a following. I think this one is a very important one. And I think, again, going back to some of the other sessions that the American Smiley Chamber of Commerce will be doing on social media is going to be critical in this. There's only so many clothes you can sell to your family and friends. You have to expand your network. You have to network with people. You have to really get yourself out there. And digital is a great way to do that. So continue to build an active following. You know, share things about, some of your favorite things, and build a brand. You know, build a brand so that people really want to engage with you and continue to buy from you. And then lastly, you know, be customer focused, honesty, politeness in dealing with a customer. You know, we've mentioned this in previous webinars about e-commerce, but if you have an unhappy customer, do whatever you can to make them happy. You can't always, you can't avoid uncomfortable situations. You can't avoid customer complaints. Sometimes they happen, but do whatever you can to make it right for the customer. And I just wanted to add one note, Jalal, when you mentioned be stylish about your shipping, I think that kind of comes in with the customer experience piece of it as well, because a lot of the things that for example, I might have ordered, the boxes are really cute. They're really nice. And you know, they have, sometimes they throw in a special surprise for you. Sometimes they have a handwritten note saying, thank you for your business. So there's all kinds of things that you can do to, you know, increase your popularity and build a following, right? It's not just enough to build a customer base. You also have to build a following, somebody that believes in you and your brand, so that you can continue to have a long-term success. So that's pretty much it from the customer experience quick tips. And Jalal, I'll pass it over to you to talk about one other, just a reminder for what's coming up next after this webinar.
If you can, yeah, just pull up the next slide. So we found these three amazing speakers in India. One of them is a head of marketing. He's going to talk about, he specializes in Facebook and Instagram. He's in Gujarat in India, in Ahmedabad. They conducted a series for AKEPB in India also, and they've gladly agreed to offer their channel service through ACC to educate. There's a lady by the name Karima Jamal, a young entrepreneur. She's the head of strategy. So she kind of designs the plan. So she's the doctor who looks at your blood report and says, what do you need next? And then you have Altaf Gilani, who says, if you have a website, so I'm going to have them with me from next Saturday, 10 o'clock. Do join us for AICC membership. It's free. For 50%, you become, and you can join all the webinars for free. If not, we're only going to charge you $10 a webinar. You're welcome to join us either or. I'd like to stop everything right here and take a couple of questions before we wrap this up. I know we're going to run out of time. So I think you have seen some questions, Afroz. So why don't you shoot me those questions and let me see if I can answer them.
Sure. So one of the questions came in specifically about how to prepare the clothes that you buy for bulk. Sometimes, you know, just washing clothes sometimes is not enough. What else can people do to prepare their clothing properly for sale?
So I had interviewed somebody and asked them, how come you sell so many clothes? What's your secret? She said, I steam every used clothes that I buy. So I said, how much is that steaming machine? She said, I spend $150. And I have a stand-up steamer. She said, it takes me a few minutes. I pick up any cloth that I bring in, I steam it, and I pack it up very well. So my box packaging is well, and I have a handwritten note. And I say, thank you for doing this. And then sometimes she says, if I have enough margin, I also put in a note and say, send me an email and I will donate on your behalf, $2, $3 to a charity you like. So she kind of, you know, things like that. You got to be a little bit innovative. This is a personal touch business. This is not a Macy's store or a department store. You bought a product, you went away. No, this is personal touch. You build a relation and you'll be amazed how people come looking for you as a repeat business.
That's great advice. That's fabulous advice. And one of the other questions that we have here is, what is the best way to sell single units?
based on what you're doing. I would say Poshmark is a good area. And I would say, you know, always keep in mind, you're getting into a business that the cost of the product could be $1, $2, $4, right? And we are into a business where if you think about how would ladies like to buy something, right? So for example, if I told my wife, you want to go buy a dress or something, if I said there are 3 pieces, she'd say, "Idhar nahi dekhna hai. We don't want to see here." Right? So if you had 20, 30 pieces, so kind of create a clutter or come up with an idea. It could be, and then when you have variety, it's very easy to sell. So you pick up either Poshmark or you can go on eBay. And the best part with eBay and stuff like that and Poshmark, you kind of have some stats to see what they sell for, right? So if you're buying something for $1 and $2 and you know it had a ticket for $129 and even at 50% you can sell for $60. I've seen people, you know, find deals for $30, $40 for a dollar product also. So why wouldn't I try that?
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. So really, if you have 1 or 2 dresses, 1 or 2 pairs of pants, 1 or 2 this or that, then that's not really options if somebody is looking for dresses. So if you've got a lot of dresses, then you can have a nice shop full of dresses that people can shop from. So that's a great suggestion, and really partnering. It sounds like partnering with a Poshmark or platform that already exists might be a good start for something like that instead of starting somebody's own website.
Right.
Great. And then another question here is, how expensive can shipping get when you're trying to do all of this?
So again, shipping is the trick of the game, right? So if you have enough room, I would never say try to sell 1 piece, 2 piece, because that's where you're going to lose out, right? So try to see if you can focus on something like a lot. So it could be, say you have 4 shoes that are size 8. Now, if you sold 1 pair for $7 and gave somebody to ship it for $8, you're not doing justice to it. But people, I have seen successful people's strategy is sell 4 pairs, right? For $40. It'll cost you $8 to ship. You still made some money, but you bought it for $3. So again, the way you put your product up, you make sure that it's a little bit of a good deal. Because if I'm getting 4 pairs of shoes for $40, I'd rather buy them than buy 1 pair of shoes for $24, right? So again, it's how you got to use your marketing head. And I think every Smiley is a marketing genius. They'll figure it out. Once you know how it works, we are genius at this. We don't need to be trained. This is something you don't need training.
That's true. That's true. We're definitely very social, and we definitely know how to get the message out if we wanted to. So that's really great. I think we might be at the end of our time here. I don't know, Jalal, if you wanted to add any other closing thoughts or closing comments.
No, I'd just like to say, research, be safe, and please try. No matter how much you plan, I want to do it. If you don't try, you're not going to succeed. What are you going to lose? Just a listing. There's no charge. What are you going to lose? 3 pieces of clothes you put up, nothing happened. Research and attempt, and success will come. I'm telling you. I've seen people who can barely speak a lot of English and they do this. And I'm like, wow, this is so good to know, right? So again, my last going away tip is be very careful, research, attempt it, and you'll be successful. Yes?
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much, Jalal.
Would you like to say something?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I like to keep in mind is, really think about the end customer. I think that there is definitely a lot to be said about the people that are out there shopping for these types of clothing. And I know there's a lot of other questions that are coming in. I would definitely urge people to definitely do their research. We can even share some of the reports that we found in this on the AICC resources website. We'll also try to share some responses to the questions that have come up in the question box. But definitely don't hesitate to reach out to Jalal or myself. I think we're definitely here to help everyone, and it's okay if you feel like it's too much. We'll start somewhere. I think Jalal, you made a great point. Just start somewhere and learn as you go. Nobody's ever figured it out on the first shot. You just have to start somewhere and then continue to learn and evolve over time.
Agree. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. And Yali Madad. Thank you, Froze.
Thank you. Thank you, Sharmeen. Thank you, Jalal.